Hi, I'm Leyla. I'm career coach and helping women to have successful careers they love. And I'm so lucky and a happy person because I'm working with amazing women every day. Women who want to grow, to transform their lives, to live their passion and love their lives. And one of them is Mehriban Efendi. Mehriban, good morning. And if
Morning.
someone will look up into your social media, will look up you in the social media, they will be totally confused because you are global planning advisor in oil and gas major, and you have finance and audit background, and you are artist and you are writer. So can you introduce yourself, like who you really are and what do you do today?
I do a lot of things, as you can see. Yes, so I have been working for 8 years in the controllers department of ExxonMobil Corporation. My background, educational background, is in economics, and I have an MBA from University of Houston. And I should say, for the past 10 years, my main job was really in the corporate world. But I've also developed some hobbies. Painting is a more recent one. It's something that I started during the pandemic, like we all did. But writing has been there for a long time. I've been writing for more than 10 years. It carried a more episodic character. So I wrote short blogs, blog posts, travel notes. And then more recently, it has become a more of a full-time activity.
I see. So do you still work? Do you go to the office? I mean, like, what's going on with
No.
your corporate life?
Yes. So I started a leave of absence at the beginning of February because since 2016, I've been writing a book that I completed in 2018. And last December, it was December of 2021, I received a contract to publish this book, to
Oh,
publish
wow.
it. So I realized that while writing can be more of a part-time activity, when it comes to editing and publishing your book, you really need to be focused and make it into a full-time effort. And so I asked my managers, I asked the leadership at Exxon to see if they can give me a leave of absence for a year to finish this project, and it got approved. So here I am.
Oh, wow. So you took a leave of absence actually from your corporate job. So I know, I mean, like with my HR background, I know many people are cautious about taking leave of absence, career breaks, because they are a little bit, like scared they may not be able to go back and they will be off rather of the management. So how difficult or easy this decision was for you?
I have to say it was quite a difficult decision. And besides being difficult, I think the main reason why it was so difficult is because I had so many thoughts and fears of whether this is the right thing to do. And you look back at your career, you look at the years that you've spent building everything up, and then thinking that you're going to put everything on hold, and kind of risking everything like that for a dream that may or may not work out. So I would say it's a very emotionally difficult decision. And that is when we met. That's when we started talking. And as you will probably say, during our coaching program, working through the emotions and getting rid of those inhibiting emotions was the toughest thing. But I will say, anyone who chooses to do that, you'll have some days when it sounds like it's the best idea, and then there are some
Yes.
days when you're going to feel like it's a big mistake, someone should stop you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And I know a few people in my life who were very keen, were very serious about writing a book, but it never happened because they actually struggled, with where to start with, and they had amazing plot in their head, but which never became a book. So how did you start to write? So what were your first steps? Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember. For me, and for many writers, writing is a way of processing information. It's a way of putting it down on paper and really making peace with it. I started writing when we started traveling. I felt like the countries that I saw, the cultures that I've seen, and experienced, I really wanted to see it on a piece of paper. It was almost a need. There was no way for me to not write. And that's when I started thinking that this could be something of a lifetime hobby or a vocation, because it's not a desire, but a need. But the moment when I decided to read a book, in my case, it was I can trace it back to the moment. I published a short story on my Facebook page, and one lady that was following me, she had a literary background. She sent me an email and she said, "I think you're ready to write a book." And I don't know why, but sometimes this type of one-time encouragement, someone coming and giving you that permission, works. And that's how I came to that decision that I'm going to write a book. In terms of how to do it, anytime you decide to write a book, any plot that comes to your mind, it will always be worse on paper. The moment you sit down and you have all these ideas, you have all these feelings, whatever you put down on paper comes out worse. And if you are a beginner, it's much worse. It seems plain, it doesn't sound good, it doesn't flow, and you get discouraged. So what helped me is I read books about writing, and I was prepared for some of these disappointments early on, and I didn't stop. I basically told myself I will write no matter what. Even if it sounds horrible, I'm just going to keep going at it. And there was a moment when I felt like, no, this is now, it might not be the best thing in the world, but it's truly, honestly, the fiction that I wanted, the thought that I wanted to put down on paper. That is, I think, the most important thing to accept when you write, that it's just like any job, right? You need to be consistently showing up at your desk and writing, and the flow will come eventually.
Yeah, excellent. I really like, this, you've talked about someone writing a comment. So it's interesting how something, small is really not small and can encourage you, to do something different. This is so important, to encourage each other. And so today you are a full-time writer. How does it feel?
Well, just like I said, being a full-time writer is an emotional roller coaster. One day you feel very inspired. You feel like you have this wonderful project and you work on it. And there are some days when things don't turn out exactly the same way. Some writers, or I would say that the general idea is that writers need to be inspired. Something needs to come, they need to be in a certain mood, and then everything pours out, or that you need to have some kind of dramatic experiences.
Right.
That's not the case. Inspiration is not always there. In fact, inspiration may happen when you're not sitting in front of a desk. It may happen somewhere else. The key is to be consistent. And so I wake up every day, and whether I want to write or I don't want to write, regardless of my mood, I go to work just like the rest of the world, and I sit down and I edit my book. I do have to say that most of the time it's a very enjoyable process, but I don't want to mislead people by saying, it's pure bliss 100% of the time. As any job,
but still, like you had this idea in your head, and now living it, should feel really good, like you are living your dream. So great. So when you signed up for my coaching program, I think it was back in September, I think one of the biggest concerns you have was about how you will be able to manage your day in the way that you open up space for your creativity. So how it goes now?
Yes, that was the main thing. I was incredibly afraid that I'm stepping away from this corporate created structure that has deadlines, that has certain things that happen at a certain time, and it keeps this engine moving, right? And I've been in it for such a long time. I will not lie, I'm not a very organized person. Outside of that structure, I do feel the need to have something. And so that was my, that when we started the coaching program, that was my biggest goal, to create something that will sustain this consistent effort to work on this project. And it was truly transformational. And like I said, there was an emotional aspect of it. It was, yes, I do mean it. the emotional, the inhibiting, the dysfunctional beliefs that we all have that are simply like roadblocks. I mean, you still move, but you move at a much slower pace. You get upset, you know, those we were able to take them away, and I'm very grateful for that. And then we also, you know, once that was out of the way, then we focused specifically on, okay, let's say, you know, you don't get up and you don't go to work every day, but how are you
Yes.
gonna plan your day? You know, finding a co-working space where I will have the feeling of showing up every day and working just like I did at Exxon. Time management, the books that you suggested, all of those, all in all, had a transformational effect on me, and it helped start this project with a minimal number of roadblocks, as opposed to, you know, jumping into the wilderness, not knowing what's going to happen next. So it was a transformational program for me, and it was just what I was looking for.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy again that I was able to help, and this is how you feel. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. And can you tell us a little bit more about the book? I mean, without revealing too much, but you know, like very briefly, what it is about.
So when I decided to write a book, I didn't decide what I was going to write it about. It was just this, you know, momentary decision. I will write a book. And I remember that day very well. I took my laptop, I got into my car, I went to a coffee shop in Houston that used to be my favorite at the time. And I just opened the laptop and I was like, okay, I'm gonna write a book. What am I gonna write about? and it, to me, this is my case, it's not the case with everyone, but the first thing that I realized I will need to write, the scene that came in front of me was the airport in Baku when we were leaving for the US. And I realized that the first 3 years of our life here, I remembered in such a vivid detail. And so I realized that for me to write anything else ever, I will first have to write this book that it tells the story of a family that immigrates to the US. That is the key theme. The key theme is a family that comes from Baku to Chicago, which is where we came. But I shall say that it's a fictional, it's a fiction book. So it's
people love to associate immediately you with writer with the character of the book. So
yes, and that there's a lot of that I took from our experience that's embedded in the book, but it's purely fictional. There are events in there that did not happen in real life. Yeah. The theme is immigration. The theme is culture shock that you experience. The theme is basically, you know, when you come to a different country, everything seems so foreign in the beginning. And then as you go through, you kind of realize that it's not so foreign. There are actually a lot of similarities. So you make this full circle of realizing that people are people everywhere.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm sure that your book will help a lot of people going through the difficulties of immigration or thinking about immigration. So thanks for doing that. And you mentioned about your hobby of painting. Do you still have time for painting, or you're completely now, you know, focused on your book?
Book takes a lot of my time right now because it needs to be this continuous effort. So I will say that that's mostly what I do. And I'm in the very active editing part of the book. Once that part is done, there will be more time for other things. I still paint, but right now the main focus is the book.
Excellent. Okay, so you are fulfilled professional, famous writer to be, I'm sure. Don't argue with me. I'm sure you will be. Amazing mother, wife, sister, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law. I recently met your sister-in-law, by the way. And what is your advice to women who want to have it all, like happy family, successful career, their dream? I mean, 1 or 2 pieces of advice.
That's a very good question. There's so much pressure for us to have it all right now, right? I heard one advice in one of the sessions at work. This must have been 4 or 5 years ago. That really resonated with me. We're all overachievers. We all want to be the best everywhere. And then the truth is that you can't be the best everywhere, right? But what you can be is good enough. And that concept of good enough resonated with me because I realized that in some in some periods of my life, I will choose how much of my energy I'd like to dedicate to career, how much of it I will spend, with family, how much I will allocate to hobbies. And when you're going through it, it doesn't really feel like you have it all. But with time management and with really having an honest conversation with yourself of what is that good enough for you?
Yes.
It might be that you want to you give yourself, like my approach to work was, I'm here at 8 a.m. I'm here until 5 p.m. But I'm here, and this is all I do, and I'm very focused. But at 5 o'clock,
You
I
are
shut
at
down
home
my
and you are
laptop,
mom. Yeah.
and I'm out, and then I go home, and so I would say settling and having an honest conversation with yourself of what that good enough is.
Yeah.
Education really helped me. When I realized I need to get better at time management, reading books and applying actually some of those things into life really helped me. And then one last thing, and this goes back to our coaching program: dysfunctional beliefs. Dysfunctional beliefs will stop you. They're irrational fears. There's this mean voice in our head that says you can't have it, or if you have this, then you have to give up that. Having the courage to face them and to talk about them, either with a friend or by yourself or with a coach, is really helpful. It really changes your life. And so my main advice is settle for good enough, choose what good enough means for you, and work on becoming more brave to go after what you want.
Yeah, excellent. And if you need help, ask for help. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I think this is really interesting. I will be personally waiting for your book to come out so that I can go and buy it and read it. And I'm sure that it will be a complete success. Thank you for your time, Mehriban.
Thank
Bye.
you for your time, and thank you for your help.